Oxford Mansion.
No, that's not even the way it's learned again, give the direction. Being close to the right way. And then there's. Oh, yeah.
So it's like I'll try to run the next Scott, we just went so much. Okay, yeah, I'll.
That is my great old.
Well, no, Matt and I already decided, we're gonna, since, forget, let's spend the money, man, but we're gonna get like $10,000 repairs. Yeah, I forget, we're gonna have to spend the money.
Yeah.
Sure, what was it we were talking? It was something going right now or something? Yeah.
Oh, we like, interest on.
You do what you, not sure.
Either way, we figured out a way to spend the money, we can spend it, it's gonna be on the ball. Apparently, I thought it's all charity, but it's, we'll give that. That's right.
Why you can.
Maybe sales is, yeah, they're down.
You do it, and I will do You have.
I always find a way to still.
Oh, no, well, then no.
No, you go ahead.
To do that.
That, like I said.
People, so you can't bring it.
Yeah.
No, who got?
Yeah.
Found that I was talking well this morning. This, yeah, already. Last Thursday it's supposed to be 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe a week.
Yeah. I know it was a feeling, yeah, time.
Snatched my black and white. Or was that not? Someone did.
Really?
Yeah, I printed it black and white, it was gone. I'm gonna leave it here for public.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I can pull it up on the left. Yeah, we don't need more things.
You do not.
No, I
Would you want it?
That's just agent to the sheet.
That's not a good bag. You got a terrible bag. Mine's got sign. Oh, it actually is though. See, that's crazy. Well,
My expense account in Bangor was pretty big. I just still buy candy all the time. Candy.
big bowl. I heard that cruncher.
About keeping awake out.
I know. I know. Yeah.
We're also.
It's like your last, you gotta give them 5 minutes, yeah, they don't show up in 5 minutes, you can eat things. It just makes up for me.
You go.
I'm here in 5 minutes, we'll be.
You guys are that back there, right?
5 minutes will be,
5 minutes,
I hate to, but.
university rules.
thumbs up.
Alright.
Actually, I don't think you need 5 minutes to university, I think it's two. Yeah, just walk in.
3 minutes online.
Now there he comes.
Wow.
Let's give them a move.
No,
Hey,
We're giving you 5 minutes and then we're leaving. University rules.
meet me.
Yeah, no, not mutiny, just university.
Neil's not gonna be with us and Sarah's not gonna be with us, and Rob's was battling. So we have quorum, so. Anybody wanna just stand and do something? Really fun? What's that?
Define really fun.
Yeah, sorry. Is Rob with us? Hey, Rob. Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So thank you and welcome to the Monday, April 14th meeting of the Orono Town Council. At the top of our agenda, we always list our goals for the municipal year. And roll call shows we have Councilor Rob Larway with us remotely. We have Councilor Andrea Hardison, Councilor Dan Demerit, Councilor Matt Powers, and Councilor Jacob Baker. Agenda review, the Councilor Marks and Councilor Kenny are not going to be joining us this evening. Agenda review, we have, this is where we list the items that we're working with through our committee structure. We're here for reminders to the council and for the public of the topics we're working on in those settings. Those agenda meetings are noticed along with the council agendas, and the public are always available and welcome to join those meetings. We have no tabled items. And are there any questions or clarifications or under agenda review by any members of the council? Yep. Item number 3 on our agenda is approval of the minutes from March 24th, 2025. Could I have a motion? And a second?
Second.
Okay. And we're gonna have to do this by roll call. So Rob, we're gonna come to you first when we do roll call, okay? So Councilor Larway, this is approval of the minutes from March 24th, 2025.
Favor.
Councilor Hardison,
In favor.
Councilor Demerit's in favor, Councilor Powers,
In favor.
Councilor Baker.
In favor.
Excellent. Those are approved unanimously, 5-0. Item number 4 on our agenda is public comments. We invite members of the public to speak with us about items that are not on our agenda. We'd ask that you come and introduce yourself and welcome your comments on any topic. Again, that's not on our agenda. Please come forward and introduce yourself. Make sure the microphone is on. Is there a light or green light?
Oh, it's green.
Okay.
I'm just short. Okay. Let me pull up my notes. Hi, everyone. While I'm pulling this up, my name is Meredith Waters. I've been an Orono resident for like 4 years now. I'm a university student and I'm graduating. But I'm here to talk about what recently happened in Wells, Maine. Wells recently, their police department entered a 287G agreement with immigration enforcement officials. And that means that immigration enforcement officials can utilize their town's resources and police force to carry out immigration enforcement business and deportations. I am very worried about the precedent that would set for other towns in Maine to enter similar agreements with external agencies, partially because we are many Orono residents, we are taxpayers, we are citizens, and in doing that, when we fund our law enforcement, we don't we want those resources to be reserved for in-town business and keeping Orono safe. And second, that we have a really high number of international students and people in this town relative to the rest of the state by nature of being a college town. And I feel like that puts us at a spotlight, puts Orono at a little bit of a higher risk. And I wanted to just testify today to make sure that this doesn't, that what Wells did does not happen in Orono, that we keep our police and immigration enforcement officials separate entities, one that is funded by the taxpayers of Orono to keep us safe, and one that is of the federal government and enforces immigration laws separate. Keeping them separate, making sure that the town of Orono and the Orono Police Department does not enter any agreement deals with ICE, and making sure that in keeping those separate, we protect our international student community here. As a student, I know that they add so much to my experience as an Orono resident. I've lived with international students. I have classes with international students. They are a value and an asset to this community that deserves to be protected by this board, your ordinances, and your power. Thank you.
Could you, Meredith, is that right? Could you repeat the name of that agreement that you said it was?
Oh yeah, hold on. Let me look at my notes.
Thanks.
So they entered into a what's listed as a task force style 287G agreement. And it was it's in the news.
To what?
287G. It was in the news like a week ago, so kind of old news by now, but
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Do we have any other public comment this evening? There's also a public comment at the end of our meeting, so if anyone is inspired to speak with us about something that's not on the agenda, and there are always opportunities in our agenda items to speak with us as well. Okay, no public comment online? Okay. All right, we'll go to next 5, acknowledgement by council members. Councilor Larway, would you like to acknowledge anything this afternoon?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Councilor Hardaway? Andrea Hardison, sorry.
We had some promotions in the fire department this past couple weeks, and I just wanted to congratulate Captain Sam Wiseman, Lieutenant Chad Lucas, Lieutenant Matt Netto, and Lieutenant Robert Mello for their promotion and hard work.
I would like to acknowledge the work that's been done at Webster Park in the town-owned property across the street from Webster Park in the Webster neighborhood to clean that space up. It's been fun. I saw some people fishing. I was down there with my dog over the weekend and saw some people fishing off the banks and what would not have been possible a few weeks ago. So thank you to everybody for that work that went into that. Councilor Powers?
I just want to say thank you to the Orono Land Trust, who will be sponsoring the next town potluck, which will be on the 4th of May at 6 o'clock, or sorry, at 4:30 at the Keith Anderson Community House. And Art and Harvey, who, if you haven't heard them play, are really fun. They're going to be playing live music and leading the kids, hopefully, in a harmonica band.
Councilor Baker?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is our opportunity to move and vote on items as a single action with no discussion by council members or members of the public. Any member of the public or any councilor can ask for anything to be moved off the consent agenda. Before we do, I know we don't have discussion, but before we do move these items by consent, I'd like to thank the Orono residents who are stepping up to serve on the various boards that are on the consent agenda for us today. So thank you for that. And are there any questions or concerns with the consent agenda before we move it as a block? Could I have a motion to move the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Did you get which one? Yeah, you got a very quick ear. You should be. It's like the Jeopardy button or the. All right, Councilor Larway,
In favor.
Councilor Hardison,
In favor.
Councilor Demerits in favor, Councilor Powers,
In favor.
Councilor Baker.
In favor.
It's approved 5-0, 5-0. I will share also for those, I probably should have brought this up in the agenda item, but Assistant Town Manager Mitch Stone is with us this evening. In the manager's chair, Clint DeShan is taking some time away from the office. And I'm not, because it's not my place to tell people where he is, but we're glad he's taking some time away from work because as everybody should from time to time. Action items. Order 2567 is an order accepting the capital improvement plan and concept as presented by staff for the FY26 budget and with changes and adding appendices. This will take a 1-year plan and put it into the budget for further consideration. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, a second. One of those are a second, okay?
Second.
Yep. Okay, now Mitch, do you have anything from staff for us on this?
So I would just add, you were provided an appendix F that answers 22 questions that were brought up during the conversation about the the capital improvement plan. With that, there was also attached to it a summary, about a 2-page summary. There were a couple of questions that Councilor Marks had raised early on that I just wanted to clarify. And it was around the bond recommendation piece of that. In that, under bond recommendation in the summary, it talks about both bond things that we would look to bond for and TIF dollars. The Public Works Route 2 is funding through TIF, and that's how what we're looking to recommend, staff is. But just wanted to clear that up because wanted to make sure that that wasn't confused. The other piece to that was right below it, the bonding options talks about 45 million over 20 years, 26 million over 30 years. Those numbers are what you would be looking at for a total. You have the 2.6 million for the library, 2 million for the ladder truck, 2.5 million for police and fire buildings. Those were items that we felt would be bonded. Obviously, the 2.6 is something that you've already committed to, so we need to look at how to fund that. There may be some other ways, but that's where those numbers come from, the 4.5 being the ladder truck and the police and fire building, and the 2.6 for the library, and then the WPCF numbers. So I wanted to clarify that, and that, reiterate, this is a plan, you're accepting a plan, and this would move the FY26 capital budget that was put together in this plan to the budget process for consideration.
Excellent. Any direct questions for Mitch before we open up to public comment and then council discussion? Yep. Are there any members of the public who'd like to speak with us about this? Please join us.
I'm Frederica Smith and I live in Orono, and I strongly urge you to accept the concepts of this capital plan. I've been particularly watching the work that's needed at the WPCF, and it seems to me a very logical way to approach pipes that are over 100 years old and equipment that's 40 years old and going to fail. It's much better to do it proactively instead of catastrophically, deal with it when it's a catastrophe. I'm also pleased to see that there is a proposal to start dealing with some of the major structural issues at the public safety building, and hope that that can be tackled fairly quickly. And finally, I'm delighted that you're still supporting the expansion of the library. We have our fingers crossed that that can start in the spring of 26. So,
excellent. Thank you. Any other public comments on this item? Any council discussion? Councilor
Only
Baker.
to say that last year we would have had 40 questions. So the fact that it was so thorough and we only had 20 some odd, that's good in my book.
Efficiency.
That's right.
Yeah. I think the staff did a great job on this. I think it really is a nice framework for us moving forward. A lot of information in one place. And I'm excited about it being the basis for our planning for the future. And it's a big step towards one of our goals, which is long-term financial infrastructure planning is one of our top council, is our number one. Well, it's at the top of the list. I don't know if it necessarily is number one, but.
Flashy lights.
What's that?
Flashy lights.
Flashy
Number
lights.
one.
With flashy lights all over the place at intersections. But that is, it's our top goal on the list, and this is a big step forward, and staff put a lot of work into doing it. We'll have more to do on that this summer, but this is a big step. So, all right. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the capital improvement plan in concept as presented by staff? Councilor Larway?
In favor.
Councilor Hardison? Councilor Demerit's in favor. Councilor Powers?
In favor.
Councilor Baker?
In favor.
That passes unanimously, 5-0. Next up is Order 2568, an order authorizing the town manager to issue a request for qualifications for bond advisory services with responses reviewed by the Finance and Operations Committee before a recommendation to the council. Could you have a motion for that?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Mitch, do you want to give us something on this before we?
Sure. So obviously with the capital improvement plan, the discussion about bonds were brought up, and the complexity of bonds require specific services from somebody that's an expert in this. So what we're asking for is a request to be able to put about a request for qualifications. I believe that was attached to the agenda. And in doing so, be able to get some responses to that and allow town manager and staff with the finance committee to review those and look to how we could move forward to get some answers to what the best way to do this is, and answer some of these questions that were on the list before. So.
Okay, any comments from the public on this item? Any discussion by council? Council Baker?
So we're sending an RFP out for bond counsel, but then at the end, are we also going to be able to compare that to working through the process ourselves through the bond bank?
So what this would be able to do is get us this information from qualified individuals. We'll be able to review it, then make a decision. At each stage, you're going to be able to make a decision. Do we move forward with this? Is there another way we'd go? And that's part of that process.
So you'll get responses back from the RFQ. It'll come to the finance committee, and you'll bring it back to the council for what your recommendations are. And yep, good. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll vote to approve the Order 2568, the request for qualifications for a bond advisor. Councilor Larway?
In favor.
Okay. Councilor Hardison? Councilor Demerits in favor. Councilor Powers?
In favor.
Councilor Baker?
In favor.
Okay, that's adopted, approved 5-0. All right, next up is Order 2569, an order setting the date of April 28th, 2025 at 5 p.m. for a public hearing to consider amendments to the Town of Orono Code of Ordinances, Chapter 16, General Assistance. Mitch, do you want to run this, or Rob, do you want to, as chair of the ordinance committee, want to give us a breakdown on this?
I'm not sure.
First, we need a motion, obviously. Yeah.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. What'd you say, Rob?
Sorry, I'm not sure how well I can be heard. It might make more sense for somebody else to present, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Mitch, you
Sure. Yep.
kick it off?
So basically this, our general assistance program and ordinance, while researching things through our ordinance review committee, this has been last updated in the 90s in our ordinance. We are following the rules because we annually update and adopt updated MMA guidelines on this stuff, but realistically, we need to change the ordinance to reflect new law and also put us in a position where we can be updating it with a lot of challenges. This is simply just setting the date for the public hearing for the 28th. All the material, I think, is listed and on the website, but also will be brought back and we can have a longer conversation about it at that point.
I might also add.
Go ahead, Rob.
Thank you. I might also add that a previous version of this that I think was available to the council was that we were repealing a significant portion of the chapter in the ordinance and replacing it with a paragraph that then the plan now, according to recommendations from our attorney, is to make that main paragraph of information explaining this something that is on the website instead of being an ordinance, because instead of having to renew our approval of that every year, it'll simplify the process even a little bit more. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. From the recommended approach that Shelley provides in her memo, she says, we'd repeal Chapter 16 in its entirety, adopt the September 2024 version of the MMA model ordinance, and insert and update as needed to reflect legislative changes. So it's a good process going forward, and it's some of the work it's an example of the work we're doing in the Ordinance Review Committee with the guidance of staff to go through all of Orono's ordinances to update them to reflect the times. and other things. They get a little dated if you don't do it on a regular basis. So any other questions about this? This just sets the public hearing. So we'll have a public hearing on April 28th with presentation by staff, a chance for the public to comment, more discussion with the ordinance committee. Okay. Council Baker?
Procedural question. So if there are substantial substantive questions, concerns that come up either during the hearing from public or council and the ordinance and changes are made, would we have to have another public hearing to discuss the new language? I seem to recall we had this discussion about some of the HR changes, about whether we needed to actually bring it back for a hearing or not.
Do you want to, I mean,
Yes.
it's a judgment call a little bit, right? I mean,
Okay.
substantial change,
Right.
you got to hear it again. But if it's some wordsmithing and some minor things, we don't have to have a public hearing, another
Okay.
public hearing. It's kind of what the public hearing's for. So,
Okay, so then one follow-up question then. So in reading this, it seems that we are putting the, I guess, control of our general assistance. We are changing that to the Maine Municipal Association and their procedure so that they can make changes to, no, you're shaking your head no, Mitch, okay.
Yeah.
No, basically, we take the recommendations from MMA and how to update things. So it would still be in our ordinance stating how we were going to process this, but the law is pretty much the law. We have to follow it. It's not like we have a lot of leeway in this. So at the end of the day, once we get this all packaged, we would just, if there was a law change, usually MMA would give us recommendations on how we should proceed.
So we would still maintain control. Okay, thanks.
okay. Any other comments before we move ahead and set the public hearing?
I'd say just in response to Jacob and sort of bolstering part of what Mitch was saying, each year, I think that if we accept the changes that MMA has approved, pretty much, I mean, at least for as long as I'm aware, council's been doing this. And the current ordinances, I don't think have been updated since the 90s. So this really is mostly in keeping with our current practice. And it doesn't really, as you've said, Jacob, it doesn't really change sort of who's making decisions about this.
Okay. Well, why don't we vote on this then? Order 2569, setting the date of April 28th, 2025 at 5 p.m. for a public hearing. So we're going to do a roll call vote. Councilor Hardaway?
In favor.
Councilor Larway? Councilor Hardison? I'm
In favor.
bringing names together in a way that's kind of, sorry, I apologize. Councilor Demerit is in favor. Councilor Powers?
In favor.
Councilor Baker?
In favor.
Okay, that passes 5-0. Thank you. Could I have a motion for Order 2570, order authorizing the town manager to enter into a mutual aid agreement in fire and emergency services?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. And we have, here's Tom.
Good evening, Tom Higgins, Fire Chief. This in essence is a standard mutual aid agreement that's used with the airport out, the National Guard base at Bangor International Airport. By having the agreement, it allows for them to respond off from the base to support us and allows us to go on the base and support them. It's, I know they've been working to update these in the area because all their leadership on the last page, if you were to look at the agreement, has all changed, so.
If we look at what the last page is all changed? Oh, the commanders have all changed, yeah. Okay. Any questions for the chief?
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Okay. Any discussion by council? Okay. All those in favor of order, 70, order 2570? Authorizing the town manager to enter into a mutual aid agreement in fire and emergency services. Councilor Larway?
Favor.
Counselor Hardison,
In favor.
Counselor Demerits in favor, Counselor Powers,
In favor.
Counselor Baker. In favor. Excellent. That's 5-0. Another unanimous vote this evening. We're on a roll. Next, that completes our work on action items. And now we're on to council committee reports, and we'll start with the Community Development Committee. Update from committee chair, Counselor Powers.
All right. So we have nothing new to say about the SAMP, but we are currently working on how to evaluate pedestrian safety in Orono, which would include effectively using the speed check signs that we have. I think we have 2 or 3. We have 2 I know of one on Forest and one on Main Street, and they actually capture the speed of cars, and so we'll be able to kind of evaluate the data and take a look at as the police department may increase enforcement at certain times, see if that has an effect, right? So we're also trying to think of other ideas of how we can capture effective strategies for increasing pedestrian safety. We're also interested in feedback from the community on issues that issue spots in town related to pedestrian safety. And so our intent is to compile a list that we can begin to address 1 or 2 items on a yearly basis. And I'm going to turn this over to Dan to elaborate on what he has put together for this, which I'm excited about.
Sure. Thank you. So as part of our work, we have this Orono Stops service promise that's been a part of our work in the council since the last August. And as part of that work, as we gear up for the budget, we wanted to work with the community to identify some opportunities for projects that are within our means in our annual budget cycle to address. And the committee came up with a list of 6 or 7 items that we've heard about before, that have been hotspots isn't the right term, but areas of concern. So we developed the Orono Stops infrastructure survey, which we thought about doing as like a Google form. And we talk about the work we've done over the past year or 2 to address some safety concerns, like the speed tables and raised crosswalks on Forest Ave, the Westwood Main Street flashing crosswalk lights that are going to be installed this spring. We approved investments in the signal improvements here on Main Street at Pine and Bennick. I think we could add other things to this list too, like the money we've invested in the painter, the sidewalk painter, the crosswalk painting equipment, things like that. But the thought was, let's get some info from people on some of these areas where we think we've heard from people, and how will we prioritize these? Like, for instance, there's the blind hill at Forest Avenue at the landfill entrance. We hear about that a lot when people are coming down Forest Avenue, heading out of town, and people are trying to turn back into town. And the hill's blind, you can't see who's coming. The Main Street crossing at Stillwater Trail and Oak Street at Marsh Island, that crosswalk there is just tremendously difficult, particularly in the evening, for people crossing, trying to get back towards the Stillwater Trail side when people are coming down off the intersection. We've heard a lot about vehicle speeds on our rural state roads, including Stillwater and Forest. Webster traffic calming, kind of the North Main to Pierce to Crosby Street throughway that I think they create for themselves when they want to get around the traffic light at College Ave and Main Street. Tough end traffic calming, Main Street crossing at Island Ave to Sailor neighborhood by the Ledbetters there. We don't have a crossing anywhere after Westwood, right? So, and College Avenue vehicle speeds and road sharing and other. So we're interested in getting ideas. So we shared this with staff, and then staff ended up doing one better, I think, as we'd hope they would. And thank you for doing that. I don't know if Cody, if you and Megan put it together. I don't know if you wanted to share anything with us or, but we have an Orono Stops survey where you use mapping, right, to go ahead and pin drop locations where people might have concerns they want to get addressed, and they want to put on our radar for addressing. So do you have anything to share about how that'll work, the functionality of that?
Yeah, that's similar survey. It just should simplify for people.
Can you just
They-
introduce yourself, Cody? I'm sorry.
Cody, Community Engagement Director, Cody Viggia. And so someone could take an exact pinpoint of an intersection. They could put it on a crosswalk, sidewalk, anywhere, and it would yeah, it would just let them drop the pin on there and then record the address and then add their comments below explaining what their concern is about that address. So it's a little bit of a simplification, but we also included those remarks in the beginning about initiatives in place already and then future plans. So
And how will we, what will the data look like that comes back from this? I mean, if what if like 9 people want to say, the Marsh Island, flashy lights at the Marsh Island, how does that gonna, instead of voting, like in a survey format, it's a vote, right? So if 9 people vote on it, 9 people vote, will this be able to, will we have to go in and manually identify themes or?
no, the
count?
analytics should be quite similar to what Google Forms do.
Yep.
I would compile those like addresses in a similar fashion. And then I guess the comments would be what would be free flowing, but similar to what the Google form would have been as well.
Okay. Any questions on the different approaches, or I definitely prefer what staff developed in terms of functionality and, it's not to say that the 2 hours I spent at Starbucks working on my survey wasn't wasted, but I had to get my car tires changed over anyway. So, all right. And then we did have a question about just the frequency of surveys and how often we do surveys. I'm not concerned that we're oversaturating the community with survey type instruments. I mean, I don't think we've done one from the council since, when was it? Related to the manager search, or I don't remember when the last time we did a survey. It's been a bit. So yeah, I don't feel like we're inundating people to the point where they're worried they're going to tune us out. I think we're on the opposite end of the spectrum, frankly. So unless people have that concern, I guess we'd ask staff. We're not looking for a council decision tonight, but we're just a sense of the council that we're comfortable going ahead with this. And we're going to find out stuff. It's a chance to communicate again to the people of Orono that we're serious about building a culture of roadway sharing and safety in Orono. And it's a chance for us to learn where people's priorities are in terms of items or areas to address. And then it's going to be something we're going to bring back into our budget discussions. And we'll talk about, for another $20,000, we can check this off the list, or we can add something I saw something really cool on the way to Sugarloaf last week on the, a blind intersection that had like cars coming this way, cars coming that way. And I thought that would be really cool for Forest. I didn't get a picture of it, but I know there's stuff out there that we can do. So.
Thank you, Dan. And finally, we're also developing a handout page in conjunction with Graceland. Is it Gable or Gable? Graceland Gable. She's the college student over there, and other college students too, on renters' rights. And as part of that too, we'll also have renters' responsibilities. And we're planning on occupying a table at the University Clubs and Interest Day. I'm not exactly sure what that's called, but it's the club fair, at the club fair. So that'll be fun. And also we are continuing to work on resurrecting the Orono Days Festival, and we've had a meeting with both community members and also with leaders at the university about timing and possible events. And we'll be having another meeting. Is that tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow
Fast.
at 6, right?
6 o'clock right here.
6 o'clock right
Yep.
here tomorrow. If you're interested in having your input into what you would like to see Orono Days, and this will be a first Orono Days, and we can continue to take these ideas and build on it. All right. That's all I have to say. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say? Have I
No,
forgotten
that's great.
anything? All right. Thank you.
All right. Next committee report is the Finance Committee.
Yeah, Clint is working with the attorney on the deed language for the fire station. That once that's to something we could share, it'll go to the Boy Scouts and the Historical Society, but it's in line with everything we've talked about thus far. The Boy Scout or the Cub Scout troop has been meeting with contractors, et cetera, because KCI wanted an actual budget before they decided to take on this project. So that's plodding along.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone positioned to give an update from the Nominations, Evaluations, and Council Policies Committee, or should we table that until, just pass over that till the next meeting when Sarah's here?
Dan?
Yep.
I attended
In the
the,
last meeting. Go ahead, Rob.
Feel free to say it, Mitch. You're fine.
Okay, all I was going to say is that I know at the last meeting they worked on looking at all of the different committees and filling open vacancies and working. We do still have vacancies, so if people are interested in committees, then don't hesitate to reach out. But I know that was a big part of what they did in their last meeting, was some of the things that we actually voted on today.
Okay, thank you. And the DEIB committee, Matt?
Can't see this. Okay, it's on. We're doing a number of things, but just to let the committee know, we will be sending the town council updates to the DEIB mandate that we've taken out some language that is now because it was a mandate for the first DEIB committee that's no longer necessary, and we've updated some of the ideas and language around it, and we will be sending it to the committee, to the council to approve in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Council chair update. We had some engagement with the council around the planning board meeting regarding the lights at the athletic fields at the school, and heard back from some residents who had some concerns, and it was in public meeting, and tantamount to, can the council do anything about a planning board decision? And the long and the short of it is no. Our process is not set up for that. The planning board is a quasi-judicial process that that looks at projects based on how they fit. Are they a fit for the ordinances that are in place when the application process started? And it's not a political decision. The political decision comes before that, when the ordinances are determined and people of Orono come together to decide what our comprehensive plan is going to be and what our ordinances are going to, how our ordinances are going to read. That's the time when it's political. Once those rules are set in place, it's like $200 for pass and go. It's automatic. So we had some feedback and responded back to those constituents. But in response, we asked the planning department, and Isabel Oxley put together, is this from Isabel, the guide? Gave us a guide to participation in the planning board hearing process, kind of a memo on the planning process. And this is going to be developed, I think, into one of those, another one of our goals is having these, simple one-pagers on how to engage in government in Orono. And this will become one of those where we have this available to people who, when they have concerns, will be able to come and talk, they'll understand what the rules are for participating in the planning board process and what the scope of what they can ask for and hope to influence as part of that process. So it's not, is Starbucks good? Is Starbucks bad? That's not the question. Is this project a fit for this parcel in this zone as our planning, as our land use ordinance allows for? Is that?
Yeah, I would just add that both the documents that are attached and lots of other about the process are on the planning, on the town website under planning board. Those are all there on how to interact with the planning board, the process for each type. I think that's a site plan review, but if there are other ones there, and tell you how to do it. So all that is already currently on the website. So you can that's a good resource to start. And obviously we're always welcome any questions.
Yep. And I think the planning board, particularly the chair, Phil Ruck, does a really good job of giving people a chance to be heard and working with the proponents and interested parties to arrive at an approval that works and make sure that people are heard. So we just wanted to address that, share that, have this as a resource available to people when it comes up again. And I would say that I think as one counselor, I think if you listen carefully to what comes up in planning board hearings, that you can hear and learn things that are important to think about in the future in terms of how to, we are, in the case of Orono, we're an education town. That's our business. We prioritize it. We take a lot of pride in it. A lot of people work in that space. And, but there's an impact that comes with being an education leader and providing resources in town and things like that. And, how do we manage the impact to the best that we can is something we should be mindful of, but it's not something that you can really do in a planning board hearing. So any questions or thoughts on those items? So this is really helpful and it'll be a good guide for us moving forward as we talk to people about projects.
Dan, might I also give an update about the ordinance review committee?
Sure.
Thanks. Not much to report. Obviously, we set the public hearing date as a council for the general assistance, which our committee worked on. Mostly Shelley did a lot of work on. But we are going to be digging into a more narrow section of the solid waste chapter, talking about business licensing at our next meeting, and a couple other items, as well as trying to get our sort of minds around how to form a schedule for an interview into the future. So it's a 4-year, 5-year cycle, and the rest, lots of those questions. So we next meet as a committee this coming Thursday, and I believe it's 10:30 a.m. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, on that one.
I'll look it up. Let's say it's in the morning on Thursday, but it's posted to the website for anybody who's curious or not as good a planner as,
It is on the
as I
website.
am. It's in my calendar too. I just need to call it up. But yeah, it's Thursday morning. Okay. Was that it, Rob?
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
No problem. So we had added to my update was acknowledgement of the passing of Annie Brown. I understand Annie worked for the town of Orono in the finance department. I think she predated my time on the council or in town. I don't know if others have anything they'd like to say, but Mitch, do you have anything on that?
So I had the pleasure of working with Annie, and she was here probably the first couple of years I was here, and there was a couple of other staff members that are still here that work with her. She worked for a long time for the town, did just about everything as people did in her career, but a wonderful person, and just obviously cared a lot about the town and continuing to move it forward. So saddened by the loss, and certainly condolences out to her family and her friends.
Thank you, Mitch. Town manager's report.
Okay, so there's a few things here. I feel like Clint decided to leave and leave a whole bunch of stuff.
It's the longest report he's ever had from town manager.
But okay, we'll start right from the beginning and go through. And if anybody has any questions, certainly don't hesitate to stop me. First thing is spring Orono Stops program and letter. I believe this was attached and was sent out to the community. It really talks about some kind of areas of focus in the spring and things to think about. One is enhanced neighborhood patrols, especially around university's main days of service, and with unique activity that happens around that time. Noise control ordinances, looking at neighborhood noise reductions in our ordinance, talking about 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. as different places where you should be quieter as those times go on. Also railroad track safety, outdoor fire awareness, and Orono stops at crosswalks, just educating people on what people need to do when they get to a crosswalk and somebody is in it. So as always, emergencies, call 911, has police department dispatch and report a concern, and also town council, contacting town council or staff. If you have any concerns about this, certainly reach out to staff. The second thing is the interpretive plan meeting, the Wabanaki interpretive plan meeting that was on April 4th. Both Clint and I met with a group of folks that are kind of helping us through this process. And it was a great meeting. We just kind of laid some ground rules. We talked a lot about, kind of where Orono is, kind of ideas of what they would need to help us through this process. And this is really a beginning spot. But it was a good conversation and excited about more things to come in the future. Fire department promotions, Councilor Hardison took care of that for me. Thank you so much. Westwood RRFB update. So just got some information today. There has been some challenges with it, but just found out that they will be installed on Thursday. Once they're installed, I'm not positive that they will be up and running day one, but we're trying to get those out as quick as possible as the weather gets nice and that sort of thing. So that's exciting movement on that.
If you don't know what RRFB are, those are the flashy lights that you poke and they go bloop, 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 bloop.
Yes, the flashy lights that.
Ones that I get excited about.
Summer intern project summary. If you have questions about this, you can certainly circle back with Clint, but the main town and city managers, they actually have a internship program that you can apply for, that they will actually pay for interns if they come work in a town and you give them a project. So Clint has kind of put that forth and looking at, projects that they could help with and also get some experience with the town. So there's probably more to come on that in the future. Budget clarification, schedule clarification. So I believe that, and I don't know, I don't know how much this has been shared, so this may be new, but we had a conversation and Clint has looked at changing the budget a little bit to, on the 28th, the manager is going to introduce a big budget. And with that is going to get a summary document to council.
A big picture budget.
Yes, big picture budget. So it's the budget, you're going to get the big picture, but not all the little pieces behind it. So it's going to be a summary, really easy to digest piece of that, and discuss that because that's what was set to happen. The next day after that, and if council has comments or suggestions based on that information, the next day meeting with the senior staff to go through, make sure that everything is there. And by the 30th, the whole budget will be out to council. And at that time, we'll have all the wonderful documents, all the backup, all the extras. So that was just an updated version of that. And my understanding is the beginning of the budget will start with that summary document and then follow with the additional minutia of the wonderful town budget. So NeoGov and Trio online payments. This is something that both Zach and Shelley have been working on for a long time, and Trio has been working with us to try to get it up and going. But basically, this will allow people to have their own account in real time, see their tax payments, that sort of thing, and also be able to pay with a check online, which is big because paying with a credit card, there are fees associated with that, and that can be pretty big. So we're hoping that get this up and going for a May 1st launch, and hopefully we can work through any challenges that come up with that, but that's exciting. I know for a lot of folks.
Is it gonna, does it say the sewer bills will be paid there too?
I believe that all the bills can be paid online with that account.
But
Yes.
not water, right? So,
Not water, because that's not a town department. So sewer and taxes and would be able to be paid there.
okay.
Just an update that Clint signed a support letter for CDS application for university around a new Cutler Health building that they're proposing that would offer basically some clinical space, but also some working space for folks to actually go and get treated and have healthcare provider there and that sort of thing. So pretty good combination of the town and also deals with some EMS with the UVAC program up there, having some space there and working with educating folks in EMS. So Clint did sign that. The last piece is a Maine State budget update, and there has been some movement around LD 609, which contains some expenditure. Well, there has been let me just make sure I get this right. March 25th, a group of current and former Maine lawmakers submitted an application for a people's veto referendum challenging the enactment of PL 2025C2, printed as LD 609. This bill contains the baseline appropriation expenditures necessary to close out FY25 and enable the state to continue its operation as of July 1 of this year. Among the FY 2026 and FY 2027 appropriations are $1 billion for K through 12 education, $2.65 million each year for biannual for revenue sharing program, and $20.3 million in both FY 26 and 27 to support county jail operations. Due to the submission of the application, the implementation of the budget is on hold. So basically, there's a process that goes through. If they get enough signatures, that could put the budget on hold. Not sure where this is going. All of this information is attached to the thing. So if you want to read further, just want people to be aware that that could, challenge us if it does be put on hold.
Now, there's no role for us as a county. I mean, it's not like there's a body that we could share an opinion with on this, right? Because it's out to people's veto and it's just,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll see where it goes, but just know that we're tracking that, and it would affect every community, not just us.
A question on that, from a timing standpoint, it sounds like the budget is on hold. Assuming they collect enough signatures, a budget is on hold until the November election.
If they collect, yes, if they collect enough, that's my understanding.
Okay, so then, assuming they collect enough, that would impact us because our fiscal year starts on July 1, so we wouldn't receive revenue sharing until at least after November, assuming this gets ironed out. Is that?
Yes. That's what this is suggesting. I mean, I think there's a lot of steps in the way.
Yeah.
I don't want to start some sort, panic, but this is something that MMA has sent to us to make sure that we're aware of, and figuring out ways to, as we get closer and as this progresses, how we would deal with a hesitation in funding.
Yeah, so I'm assuming we're also in the back of your mind to add to your growing list is contingency planning in case.
Yep.
Okay.
I think they have until mid-June to collect enough signatures, isn't it?
Yep.
It's a lot of signatures, but if they have people behind them that are paying signature gatherers, that can, it's, when does our state revenue sharing come in like, is it a lump sum type situation, Zach, or does it come in monthly? Okay, then. I wanted to thank, I don't know if anyone has any other questions. I got a couple. I wanted to thank the team for the work that went into the spring safety letter. I know that, you knock on any doors. Andrea and I are planning to knock on some doors and share it with some people, but I was out of commission yesterday, so.
I talked to a few of the tenants in and around Hillside Road, and they were receptive to it, and so.
Yep.
I think it's gonna benefit a lot of the neighbors and residents.
Yeah, and I think it's a good way for us to remind folks, start the slow but steady work of kind of building a culture of understanding around what our neighborhood expectations are, and those types of things. So I appreciate the work that's gone into that, and we'll continue to get the word out. I also wanted to, on the support letter, the UMaine CDS application, we talked about that in our agenda planning meetings, and I felt that we use those meetings sometimes as and I just wanted to share this with council. We use those meetings as kind of just a check-in opportunity for Clint with Sarah and I about things, and things that are well within his authority as we don't need to bring these types of things. We didn't feel like we need to bring these types of things to council to get an approval. It's going out under his signature and the town manager and his responsibility. So those types of things seem pretty reasonable for him to just go ahead and do. And we just wanted to share that Clint does work with us in that capacity to ask questions about those kinds of things from time to time, and just letting you know. Okay. We do not have the town manager report. It was lengthy but well delivered, so thank you for that, efficient. Public petitions, number 10, we don't have any public petitions. Are there any future agenda items and council requests for supporting items?
I did have a question about the Webster Park. I don't know if this is the time to ask it.
It's
With
pretty,
the clearing that's gone on, are there any plans for safety barriers or signs? Swim at your own risk or anything like that that's gonna be going up?
So I can address the swim at your own risk. We don't typically put those because we're not telling you to swim at all. So, putting them out or kind of saying, hey, go do this, that's a tough place to be in the water. It's that close to the dam anyways. So I don't think we would put those signs out, but I'll let Bill follow that.
Bill Cody, Public Works Director. Andrew, what was the exact question?
Just wondering where it's so cleared out now, and especially with spring runoff, the water's moving pretty swiftly. There any safety barriers that are planned or any type of safety?
No, right now, no. Right now, if you were down there today, they were actually planting. It's a new style of, no, I shouldn't say it's a new style, but they're starting to plant some things to retain the soil, which will take about a year or so. We're going to put some stakes up, but that's more for the mowing crew to kind of where they can come and go. But yeah, I don't think there's any plans, like Mitch said, to put any kind of signage up around that.
I think we could probably put something out on social media, just saying beware and be careful as the river rises and those sorts of things. But certainly we can do that.
it's not illegal to swim in the river there, is it?
No.
Okay, good. All right. I fall out of my kayak sometimes and it looks a lot like swimming by the time I get back on. All right. Thank you. Next up is public comment. Do we have any additional public comment this evening? Okay, and we're going to move into executive session. We may have a vote coming out of executive session, right? For those that want to stick around.
So the first one we'll have a vote coming out of, and then the second one we will not. We will need to go into the other room
Okay.
because we have a remote counselor
Okay.
for both.
So I would entertain a motion. So for the members of the public who would like to see any discussion or action taken by the council when we come back from executive session, we will be back. But at first we need a motion to leave. So I'd take a motion, Order 2571, going into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 40560 regarding labor negotiations.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and we need to do a roll call vote. Councilor Larway? Rob, you still with us? Okay. Councilor Hardison?
In favor.
Councilor Demerits in favor? Councilor Powers?
In favor.
Councilor Baker?
Favor.
All right, that's unanimous. We'll go into executive session. Ugh. Zach, watch my stuff. We back on? Cody, we're back on? Okay. Thank you. The Orono Town Council is back in regular session from our executive session, and we'll take a motion on order 2571, order authorizing the town manager to execute a side agreement with AFSMI Council 9-3.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we had this presentation executive session. I don't know that we need a public.
Just all this is the memorandum of understanding is around the full-time wage for the staff accountant that was not executed when we started. It was all agreed upon, but we just hadn't had it executed. So this is just an execution of that memorandum of an agreement between ASME and the town.
Okay. I would say that our bargaining unit is brand new, right? We just started that a year ago, or not even a year ago, with under our interim town manager. So we have continued to work to address any issues we have with that bargaining unit. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilor Larway is not with us any longer, so I think we can just do this. All those in favor of order 2570, we moved and seconded it, right?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor? And that's unanimous, 4-0. Now we'll go back into executive session, this time without any action after the executive session for pursuant to 1 MRSA 405, Section 6C regarding acquisition of real property or economic development. Can I have a motion?
Moved.
Second? Somebody? Moved and seconded? And all those in favor?